Picture this. It's my first day of preschool, and just like that infamous Key and Peele sketch, my teacher is doing roll call. The tension in the room is palpable as she approaches my name. She takes a deep breath, clears her throat, and then goes, "And Jeff? And Jeeth? Angeth? I mean, seriously? Don't I look like an Ashley?" All jokes aside, it was like watching a live performance of the substitute teacher, except instead of laughing along, I felt isolated and embarrassed by the difficulty of my name. I remember thinking, why did my name have to be so complicated? Why couldn't I just have a regular name like the other kids? I just wanted to fit in and be normal. So, for the sake of convenience, I went with Angeth. Yet, to this day, I regret that moment and similar ones that followed. And during those little jabs and asides to my culture and my identity, I realized that I wasn't defining myself on my own terms. Those moments altered my identity. Those moments allowed others to define me. Those moments ruined my relationship with school. But it wasn't always this way. Growing up, my favorite part of the day was school. Heavy emphasis on growing up. I vividly remember throwing up in preschool and being sent home. However, I did not back down without a fight. My older brother had to quite literally pick me up and drag me out of school while I was having a full-blown meltdown in his arms. No joke, in preschool, we would get Fridays off, and seeing my older siblings get ready for school filled my little 4-year-old heart with jealousy and pure hatred. I loved every second of school, from meeting new people to recess, lunch, gym, recess, arts and crafts, and recess. But ultimately, my love for school and education stemmed from my parents, more specifically from the educational opportunities that they lacked. Now, I'm sure every immigrant parent has told their children about the hardships they face as kids, walking thousands of miles across mountains and valleys and rain, snow, thunderstorms just to get to school, or how hard life was back then and how easy kids nowadays have it. My parents are no different. They immigrated to the United States in the late 90s and early 2000s during the Civil War of Sudan, a war that tore families apart and devastated the country. My parents and many other Sudanese alike were robbed of their childhood, robbed of safety and security, robbed of an education. However, aside from all the violence and chaos from the war, the outcome of an independent South Sudan filled the country with pride. My parents are proud of where they come from, South Sudan, proud of its people's courage and independence, proud of what it means to be South Sudanese. And from an early age, I carried their pride with me, knowing that I was a descendant of a country that fought for its people and its independence. It wasn't hard at an early age. From church to social gatherings, I was surrounded by fellow South Sudanese. My name was a reflection of my culture. My name carried its South Sudanese lineage and liberation. In the South Sudanese culture, it's uncommon to be named after a woman unless they made significant contributions to their community and earned sought-after respect from our people. I was named after my great-grandmother because she lived a life of integrity and nobility. As a South Sudanese, however, it did not matter how much pride I carried of my culture because in school, I was always felt embarrassed and isolated by my own name. So through the ages from preschool to middle school, I let others mispronounce my name as Angeth. However, sometime between my 8th grade and freshman year, I learned some very valuable lessons. One of them from my favorite comedian, Hassan Minhaj. He appeared on The Ellen Show in front of thousands of live viewers and not only corrected Ellen on mispronouncing his name, but also encouraged others like me to do the same. It felt refreshing to finally have someone who shared my same experience. I remember watching another one of Hassan Minhaj's interviews, and he was retelling the story of his first audition. He was told to introduce himself in front of the camera, and a member of the production crew struggled to pronounce his name, telling Hassan, "It's fine, it doesn't matter." And for a second, Hassan Minhaj truly believed him. Hassan Minhaj reflects back on that point, encouraging others like me that our names do matter, and who we are does matter. But most importantly, Hassan Minhaj was right. If society could pronounce the name Bartholomew without issue, they could definitely pronounce my name right. Hassan Minhaj's strength also made me think back to a poster in my 8th grade teacher's room highlighting the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. As a society, we focus too much onto that first part of the sentence. No doubt the treatment of others is always important. However, we tend to dismiss ourselves. How the treatment that we receive from others is dictated by how we treat ourselves. And I fell victim to this. By allowing others to mispronounce my name, I was letting them not only define my own name, but also my identity. And I was ready to change that. The summer of my 8th grade year brought a newfound confidence. Surviving a global pandemic and having a fire outfit with a mask to match, I walked into those high school hallways with my head held high. I can still feel the wave of nervousness, yet pride that hit my body when I walked into my first period class freshman year. I was not going to let roll call be another key in P.O. sketch. I sat in my chair anxious, and finally, it was my turn. I saw my teacher's recognizable look of confusion, but before she could even make her first attempt, I said firmly, "My name is Angeth." And in that moment, I realized 2 fundamental truths. First, it didn't quite matter how many times it took my peers or my teachers to pronounce my name correctly. What mattered was their consistency and will to do so. And secondly, it takes a lot of courage to stand up for yourself and not let society define you. But by correcting my teacher, I was standing firm in my culture and my identity. I was showing courage in the face of her inconvenience. Now, I can't come up here and tell you guys how to live your lives or how to discover yourself. No matter who you are, discovering your identity is an ongoing process, but it's never too late to discover who you are. Heck, it took me until high school to finally embrace my name and my identity. But most importantly, throughout our lives, we will face challenges and obstacles that force us to question who we are, what we believe in, who we can trust. But in those moments, we must hold on to the pieces of our identity that remain constant, like our name, our culture, our morals, and be okay with the pieces that are not constant and ever-changing. Ultimately, it's our unyielding commitment to who we are and who we want to become that builds our identity. So now let's picture this. We live in a society that embraces the unyielding commitment to standing firm in our identity and showing that same respect to others. I think of a future preschool Angeth, sitting there during roll call, confident as her name is approaching, because she knows she'll proudly say, "My name is Angeth." But this time, it isn't seen as courageous because there's a universal acceptance of identity where our pride in being wrong is minimal and affirming the identity of others is the standard.